All right, good evening. Welcome, everybody here. We're so glad you're here. Let me ask a few questions here. How many here have ever been to Israel? How many of you want to go to Israel? Woohoo! All right. How many of you believe our media is biased? Is that right? How many of you love the God of Israel? Amen. I'm so excited tonight to have the regional director, Randy Neal, with Christians United for Israel here with us. And I'm very excited about having Dr. Danny Tirza, the architect and designer of the fence, might be a better word than the wall, the fence that goes throughout Israel, which really is a peace barrier, I believe. Tonight, you're going to hear some truth, some reality of on the ground, really what's going on. And so really excited about being able to have Dr. Danny Tirza here with you. Let's open with the word of prayer, and then I'll introduce Randy. Let's stand. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we just thank you so much for this time that we can come together and we can hear about your land. Father, we just pray right now for the true peace of Jerusalem, that your land would remain undivided. And Father, we just thank you so much for Israel. We pray that you give all the political leaders wisdom, the military leaders wisdom on how to handle the situation that they're in. Father, that they would do the right thing, and above all, that they would follow your Torah. And we just thank you so much in your name. Amen. All right, Randy Neal, come on up. Let's give Randy Neal a big hand. Randy and I have known each other for, 10 years, I think, or something like that, for a long time. And he's well, let me ask you, how many people are here for the first time who've never been here before? All right, we have quite a few hands. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you for coming. For those of you that don't know, I'm Pastor Mark Biltz, Vel Shaddai Ministries, and we meet right here every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. So if you're here for the first time and you love Israel and the Jewish people and you want a better understanding of the Bible from a Jewish perspective, come here on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock. Randy Neal is a good friend of mine. He is a regional director for Christians United for Israel that John Hagee started many years ago, about 10 years ago, something like that. And he's fantastic. I tell you what, he's one of the most humblest guys and one of the most knowledgeable guys of what's going on concerning Israel. And I'm just glad to know him and have him on this side.
Thank you, Pastor Mark. Now, Pastor Mark, I don't know how many of you know, but Pastor Mark is our Washington State Director, and he's going to be helping me forge a trip for pastors that have never been to Israel that's going to be going in just about a year or so. So we're looking forward to getting a bigger footprint here in the state of Washington and allowing the Lord to cast some vision for these spiritual gatekeepers to catch. And you are really in for a treat here in just a few minutes, but I'd be remiss if I didn't just tell you that if this is not your home church, and if finding a church that is pro-Israel, that loves Israel and the Jewish people, if that's a prerequisite for you to find a home church, you're in that church right now. So I encourage you to take Pastor Mark up on his offer and to visit the services. He's a brainiac, and it's hard to keep up with all the stuff that he can teach you. So it's a lot of fun, and anyone that doesn't investigate the Jewish roots of their Christian faith, they're doing themselves a disservice. Once we better appreciate that, the Jewish roots of our Christian faith, our faith just gets richer and deeper as the Lord just breathes on the embers and kindles it back up into the flame that it should be in the first place. And I've always joked whenever we come here, Jesus wasn't a Christian, and Mary wasn't a Catholic, and John wasn't a Baptist. They were all Jews. So we need to realize that. So we're gonna run a very short video clip to give you an overview. This is not an infomercial for CUFI, but we were founded 10 years ago by Pastor John Hagee. 412 leaders from across the country met at his church in San Antonio, Texas, and today we just passed the 3 million member mark. We're the largest pro-Israel organization in the world. And on this short video clip, I want you to pay particular attention to two things that are going to be mentioned and cited in the video. One is our Washington, D.C. summit, which is coming up in just about 1 month, and you still have time to register to attend and to get a fairly reasonably priced airline ticket and to be part of a real history-making, history-shaping experience where Christians meet with our elected officials on Capitol Hill and send the message, we're not Jewish constituents, we're Christian constituents in your district. We vote people into office, we vote people out of office, and we're paying attention. And so I want you to look at that and pray about going. And I want you to think of a college student that deserves to be invested in and nominated to go on our dime on a scholarship to that DC Summit, where they will have advocacy skills instilled in them that they'll have for the rest of their life, and really be able to take that Judeo-Christian moral compass that has been raised up into them and use it to impact and engage the political fabric and the political leaders in this country. So if I could get somebody in the video booth to run that short, decade-strong overview, and then we'll get the evening underway.
We are Christians United for Israel. Christians United for Israel began in February 2006 with 400 evangelical leaders in San Antonio. Today, we are the largest pro-Israel organization in America.
Christians United for Israel, known as CUFI, brought a group of 50 pastors and Christian leaders from every state in the nation and the District of Columbia to Israel.
Thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for standing with us. Thank you for coming. That's what they say everywhere. It's just amazing.
To come and simply tell to the people of Israel, we support you, we understand you. There are still people in America who can distinguish morally between Israel and Hamas, and there's still people in America who appreciate what Israel's doing, not just to protect their own citizens, but we believe deeply when Israel battles Hamas, they're also protecting us in America.
We're praying for the safety of the Palestinian people, the regular citizens, but we are praying that this nation will be wise enough to defend herself.
Palestinians are like the Native Americans, before they were crushed.
That is a war crime. Here's the point. The people, the terrorists in that area, they continue to represent those people. They continue to get attacks sent on those people in that area because they keep attacking them.
CUFI has been such a blessing in every other aspect of my life. I really felt like God kept bringing it into my life and laying it on my heart. I'm a college student. I can't give all of my resources, but I can give my voice, I can give my hands, and I can give my feet to do the will and the purpose that I'm called to do.
I applaud Pastor Hagee for this great initiative of creating this new organization, Christian United for Israel.
To have this kind of support within the Christian community is of incalculable value.
This is a fight between what is right and what is wrong.
And God's people have made our choice. We will stand with Israel.
I know the support that Israel has in your congregations. I know what you do in Washington, and what you're doing there is very important.
We are in a global conflict with a force which wants to destroy us.
I'm here to thank you for making me feel that I am not alone.
To my fellow Jews, these are our best friends in the world. As Christians United for Israel, we're spreading the truth. We're 4.5 years old, and we have grown to be the largest pro-Israel organization in the world. I come to you as your brother Joseph, brother in the things that are most important.
We have an historic alliance with the United States. As Pastor Hagee said, Ani Yisraeli, I'm an Israeli. I say, Kulanu Yisraeli. We are all Israelis.
God is reminding us of our past to remind us of our future.
Israel, historically, is the land of the Jews.
Well, we live in interesting times, we live in challenging times, and you being in Washington makes a difference.
Just like Israel, our students are strong. Our students are of good courage, and we are not afraid. We fight back because it's incumbent upon us to reform and reshape the conversation about Israel on our college campuses.
God's word doesn't change. It is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We stand with Israel.
When God created this earth, he chose his people. And he said, those of us who will bless them, he will bless. And those who curse them, he will curse.
Both the United States and Israel, I think, share powerful cultural similarities and overlapping values, not to mention incredibly overlapping interests.
Pastor Hagee, together with his beloved wife, Diana, his Ashes Chayil, his woman of valor, has demonstrated time and again his unswerving loyalty, sacrifice, and devotion to the Jewish people and to the people of Israel.
As I look around the audience today, I understand why America is the greatest nation ever assembled on the face of God's green earth.
Christians and Jews are spiritual brothers. Our roots are Jewish. If a line has to be drawn, draw that line around Christians and Jews, because we are united and we are one in the Spirit of God.
I'd encourage y'all to visit the CUFI table. Sherry's back there, and there's information on the DC Summit and on the student scholarships. There's also an info card, a blue and white contact card if you didn't receive an email about this, or if you want to receive an email invite about similar upcoming events in the area, just fill that out as legibly as you can, and you'll get an email from us once a month just to let you know about anything locally and also about any pending or critical legislation having to do with U.S. Israel relations. We're the tip of the spear in leading in creating state legislation, anti-BDS legislation, to make it actually illegal for states to boycott Israel if they want to do business with the state. Just passed it in Arizona, about to pass it in Nevada and probably Alaska and Idaho as well. So I don't have hopes up really high for Washington at this time, but we'll see what we can do to roll up our sleeves. So, we bring groups of pastors to Israel, 5 or 6 groups of 30 or more pastors every year from all across the country. And we don't do it without taking several hours and carving them out where they can be briefed by Dr. Dan Tirza. And we've had pastors that have never been to Israel before, but they hear these sound bites on the news. The media spins the imagery of this barrier that they call it, and some people go to lengths to call it an apartheid wall. I prefer to call it a good neighbor fence. Fences make good neighbors. But it takes a very special person. So you have this individual who basically was part of the process at all of the peace talks, the Oslo Accords and on, that is considered one of Israel's foremost experts on the spiritual dynamics of the geographical regions and how the nuances change. You've got all kinds of different Christian communities, you've got Muslim communities, you've got Jewish communities, you've got secular communities. And not just what type of fence has to be built, but where that fence is going to be built. And Dr. Tirza was actually appointed by Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, and later given continued tasks by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to not just design, where that fence can go and how it's going to impact the people on both sides of it, but what kind of fence has to go, here and there and where. So whenever these pastors, when Dr. Tirza is done, they consider it one of the most important parts of their trip to Israel because they had all those dots connected, they had all those blanks filled in, they had all that fog blown away, and they were able to grasp and cut through all of that negative rhetoric that the media spins and that our campuses spew, and they're able to now effectively, with authority and confidence, around the water cooler in their church office or around in small groups, they can speak authoritatively about the realities of what they saw and experienced and the questions that they had answered. And you're about to get the same information right now. You're about to be equipped with information that you will consider precious at trying to understand the complexity of the Middle East. And I just beg you, don't just consider this a rare treat tonight to be able to hear from an expert. Let this information equip you. Let it equip you and arm you so that you can be a better defender of Israel. You can be a better advocate of Israel, and that when you hear somebody misspeaking, you can straighten your spine and you can speak confidently and authoritatively and stop those misinformations and half-truths dead in their tracks. Truth is our weapon, and facts are our ammunition. And that's what you're about to get right now. You're about to be loaded up. Please give a really warm El Shaddai welcome to Dr. Danny Tirza.
Thank you. Thank you all. Clap in the end. You don't know yet. So, my name is Danny Tirza. I'm a retired colonel from the Israeli army. I've spent 30 years in the army. Most of this time I was commander in combat units, most of the time at the paratroopers. But in the end of 1993, I was called to be the head of Rainbow Operation Administration. I didn't know what it is. So I came to the chief of staff and I asked him, what do you want me to do? And he said to me, well, there is something going on there in Oslo between the Israelis and the Palestinians. I want you to be there. Take all the security concerns from the ground and be part of the Israeli delegation. So in a very short period, I've established a strategic planning bench in the central command of the IDF, and I took part in all the negotiations with the Palestinians from 1994 till 2007. In 2007, I've retired from the Army and the Ministry of Defense. I finished my PhD, and then I was called back to Prime Minister's office when we had the Annapolis process negotiations in 2008, 2009. Then I retired from all of it. Today I'm a free man. I run my own company. But still, if the government needs me, they know how to call me. Well, in this duty, I had to do two things. On one hand, I had to be there in the negotiations, representing the security concerns from the ground, but on the other hand, I had to prepare the ground for the future peace that nobody knew how it will be, like changing all the network of the roads in the West Bank, because till that time, all the main roads were crossing the Palestinian towns. Now we had to construct new roads that will take the Israelis to the houses without entering Palestinian urban areas. I had to relocate all the military camps from the Palestinian towns to the open space. I had to build all the homeland security infrastructure. So it was a very interesting job, and I did it for 14 years. In this job, I had to meet a lot of times with Yasser Arafat, the Palestinian leader. Well, the first meetings were very hard for me because I knew how bloody his hands were. I chased him all over the area and in Lebanon too. Now I had to meet with him, shake his hand. You know, the Palestinians, when they meet each other, they used to kiss each other, even man to man. I came with straight hand. No kissing, but working together. And really I felt why people says that you make peace with your enemies, not with your friends. Well, Yasser Arafat used to call me Abu Kharita. Abu in Arabic is father, Kharita is map. So Abu Kharita is the father of maps because I was the territorial expert and the mapper through all those negotiations. But really it's a joke because there is another word in Arabic that we are using it a lot in Hebrew too, Kharta. Kharita is map, but Kharta is bullshit. Well, today I'll try to share with you some of the dilemmas that I had to face when I got the mission from the Israeli government to design and build a security fence. But that was in 2002. I cannot start the story of the security fence in 2002 because we have to recognize that there are two different narratives about the past. As we have our national story, that we really, really believe that this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the Palestinians have another narrative. And if we don't recognize their narrative, we cannot understand what this conflict is about. Well, before that, I just want to put two maps, as I'm a mapper, and just to take you to the area. So, can you start it? As you know, Israel, the Holy Land, is so small that you cannot find it in the map. You know, a lot of people are telling me, well, Israel is so big, it's so big power. It's probably hundreds of kilometers. No, Israel is very small. You can see in the map, these are the Arab countries, and Israel is somewhere there, very small place on the map of the Middle East. And if we are looking to the area, you can see Israel, and this is Israel. This is what we call Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank. The West Bank is the west bank of the Jordan River. Here, this small strip is Gaza Strip, and here it's the Golan Heights. Israel is surrounded by Arab countries, Lebanon in the north, Syria, or what was called Syria till some years ago, Jordan Kingdom, and Egypt, and the Mediterranean. This is Egypt, Israel, so small land in the Middle East. If we compare Israel to the United States, you can see it in the map. So small country, and if you look, this is New Jersey, and this is Israel, almost the same size. So we are a very small country living in an area with a lot of Arabs around us, and they don't like us to be there. And they said that Israel is like a knife in the heart of the Arab world. So you can see why they are looking about it in this way. But I want to start the story about the two narratives. Well, our national story is very simple. We, the Jews, are the people that God promised us this land. He didn't promise it to any Arab. There were no Arabs that time at that land. We were living here. We were thrown away by force from our land 2,000 years ago. And now we came back to rebuild our nation on our land. We call it that time, the people without land are coming back to the land without people. Because really in the end of the 19th century, there were no many Arabs in that land too. Of course, there were a lot more Arabs than Jews, but we thought that we are going to establish a democratic state. In every democratic state, there are some minorities, so we thought that we will bring the Jews from all over the world to this small land, and the Arabs will be an equal minority inside Israel. That's what we thought. But as you know, the Arabs didn't like that idea at all. So in 1947, the UN General Assembly took decision to have two states. One state for the Jews, that's Israel, and one state for the Arabs. The Arabs didn't define themselves as Palestinian yet. Well, I'm talking about 29th of November 1947, and the Arabs didn't define themselves as Palestinian yet. Well, we didn't like the decision. We thought that the Arabs have already 21 states. Why they need another one? And this is the only place on earth the Jews can have their own state, especially after the Holocaust. So we didn't like the decision, but we accept it. The Arabs didn't. So in 15th of May 1948, when the British mandate went away and Israel was established, 7 Arab countries came in with their armies trying to erase Israel that was just born from the map. Well, it was a very tough war. We lost 1% of our population in that war. But thanks God, in the end we succeeded and we won it, and Israel was built as you can see today. In 1967, Egypt, Syria, and Jordan tried again what they called that time, to throw the Jews to the Mediterranean. Well, thanks God, we succeeded and we won that war too. And in 6 days, Israel occupied the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and Sinai deserts. But we didn't annex these lands to Israel. We let it to the future. Do we really believe that there will come a day and we can have peace agreement with our neighbors and live normally in this wild neighborhood of the Middle East? This is our national story, very simple one. But the Palestinians have another narrative. According to the Palestinians, the Jews are not a nation. It's only a religion. And therefore, the Jews have no right for their own state because there is no state for any religion around the globe. Even the Vatican is not the state of the Christians. It's the state of the administration of the Pope. So as they see it, the Jews that were spread along the world had a lot of money. So they lent money to the Turkish Sultan and to the German Empire that they will let them build a colony. And they are looking above Israel as part of the colonialism of the 19th century. Well, as the colonialism is gone all over the world, most of the Arabs believe that Israel will vanish from the area too. It will take a time. But in Arabic, there is a word, sabr. Sabr means patience, but a lot of patience. So they say, okay, we have sabr. The conditions there are too tough, the Jews are too spoiled. It will take a time and the Jews will go away. But a lot of other Arabs says, let's help them go away. So according to the Palestinians, the Jews came from all over the world trying to take the Palestinian properties, the Palestinian lands. And in 1948, when the British mandate went away, the Jews tried to get rid from the Arabs that were living there. And that's what started the refugees problem. Well, according to the Palestinians, in 1967, Israel tried to enlarge a border. So Israel occupied the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and Sinai Desert. So as they are living under the illegal occupation of Israel, they have all the rights to resist that occupation in any way. So what we call terror attacks, they call it freedom fight. Well, if you have two different narratives, you cannot match them because narrative is your belief. You can compromise about actual things, but you cannot compromise about your beliefs. And therefore, we had 100 years of armed conflict between the sides. That was till 1993. In 1993, something new came in. There were some unofficial Israelis and some unofficial Palestinians that sat together in Oslo, Norway. And they said to each other, we recognize that you have a different narrative about the past. But let's see if we can find a way for the future. If we can find a way to live here together, to raise children here together. And when they sat together, they found that there is a way. And that's what started the Oslo peace process. Well, we call it that time the tunnel to peace. There is the great light of the peace in the end, but you have to cross the darkness of the process to get there. Well, as you probably know, in this process, a lot of Israelis lost their life. A lot of blood was spilled. But I don't want to get to the details. I want to jump to summer 2000. In summer 2000, we were in Camp David, Maryland, at the peace submission that President Clinton held there. We were 16 Israelis, headed by our prime minister at that time, Ehud Barak. The Palestinians, there were 16, headed by their leader, Yasser Arafat, and there was a big American delegation headed by President Clinton. Just imagine that President Clinton left his office for 2 weeks, and he was with us there on the mountain. So he really believed that we are going to get out from this peace submission with an agreement in our hands. Well, we, the technical staff, worked in a very good environment. Worked on the wording, worked on the mapping. Of course, there were some gaps between the sides, but that's part of negotiation. That was still the last evening. In the last evening, President Clinton held a nice dinner. He stand and said nice words about peace. And then Prime Minister Ehud Barak stand and said to Yasser Arafat, I'm willing to give you almost everything. When he said almost everything that time, he talked about 94% of the West Bank, all Gaza Strip, large areas inside Jerusalem, and even the Temple Mountain. But he said to Yasser Arafat, I need one thing from you, that you will sign that this agreement is the end of the conflict between our two people. Otherwise, I cannot give you anything, because if I'll give you what I can today, and tomorrow you'll come with new claims, what I'll do tomorrow? Well, Yasser Arafat was very angry. He left the dinner, he went to his cabin. 3 hours later, he came to President Clinton, and he said to President Clinton, I'm the leader of the Palestinian people. I'm not the leader of the great Arab world. And therefore, I cannot sign that this agreement is the end of the conflict. And everything crashed down in that moment. Well, the next morning, President Clinton came out to the press. He blamed Yasser Arafat that he cheated him all the way, that he has no courage to come to a real agreement with Israel, and other bad words. But it didn't help. In the following weeks, the Americans tried to bridge between the sides, but just 6 weeks later, the Palestinians started a terror attack that was prepared long time before that. And in one day, all the life in Israel have been changed. Well, probably you'll ask me, you, Israel, with your big army and your big intelligence, didn't you know that they were preparing this terror attack? Well, of course we knew. Of course we prepared our army for that. But Prime Minister Ehud Barak was sure that he can change Yasser Arafat's mind by showing him that there is a political solution for the problem, that we can solve it on the table and not on the field, that we can save the life of hundreds of people. Unfortunately, he didn't succeed. You know, 2000 was the year that everyone around the globe expected that something new will happen. Especially in the Holy Land, we expected to have there more than 3 million pilgrims and tourists from all over the world. The economical level was very high. Relations between people to people, Jews and Arabs, were very good. We thought that peace is just behind the corner. And as the expectations were so high, the disappointment was just the same. It was the day before Rosh Hashanah, the first day according to the Jewish calendar. And the head of the opposition of Israel that time, Ariel Sharon, wanted to show everyone that we are not giving up the Temple Mountain. So he just wanted to visit there. According to the status quo, Jews are allowed to visit the Temple Mountain. They are not allowed to pray there, but they are allowed to visit there. So he just visited the Temple Mountain, and the Palestinians used it as a trigger to start this terror attack? Well, first they were shooting from their areas toward Jewish neighborhoods in Jerusalem. Then they were sending terrorists, first with cocktail bottles and hand grenades, then shooting in the streets, putting bombs wherever they can, and then the explosive cars and the suicide bombers. Of course, all these pilgrims and tourists canceled the tour to Israel. But imagine what happened to the Israelis. Well, I can tell you about myself. I was afraid to send my daughter to a school in Jerusalem after 17 public buses were blown up by terrorists. Who will be the crazy man to visit the famous Machne Yehuda market of Jerusalem after 15 terror attacks there? Jaffa Street of Jerusalem, about 1 mile long, and we had 21 terror attacks. The big discotheque in Tel Aviv, 1 suicide bomber, 23 youngers were murdered, and 150 were wounded. All over the country, just name a place, and there was a terror attack there. The people in Israel, they asked the government, separate us from them. We don't want to see them anymore. Don't let them come to Israel for any reason. But the government of Israel didn't want to build any barrier on the ground. Not in 2000, not in 2001, and even not in 2002. Well, why? As you know, in Israel, everything comes back to the political field. There were some Israelis that said that the only fence we should have is along the Jordan River. As you saw before, when we are talking about the West Bank, it's the West Bank of the Jordan River. So there were some people that says, this must be the only fence that we should have. Other people says, no, build a fence exactly on the green line. Well, what is the green line? The green line wasn't some holy line or some historical line. It was just a temporary ceasefire line between Israel and Jordan from the end of the 48 war till 67. Well, Jordan is not here anymore. The line doesn't exist on the ground anymore. But this is the only political line that defines the West Bank. So there were a lot of people that says, build the fence exactly on the green line. But this line was a very bad line in security eyes because it runs down the valleys, and in security eyes, you always want to be in dominated areas. You want to see who is coming to you. You want to be sure that no one will shoot you from above. So really, it was a very bad line. Other people says, no, take the line inside Israel and exclude from Israel as many Israeli Arabs as you can. If these Israeli Arabs are pro-Palestinian, okay, let them live in the Palestinian side. Other people says, no, no, no. Take the line inside the West Bank and include as many settlers as you can. And the government didn't want to get inside that argue, and therefore they didn't build any barrier on the ground. So what the government did, we had so many terror attacks. Well, first the government sent us, the army, to block all the roads from the West Bank to Israel. So in less than 48 hours, we cut all the roads from the West Bank to Israel, and we put 48 checkpoints on the main roads, and we were checking every car that came from the West Bank to Israel. But it didn't help, because you know you can bypass these checkpoints by foot. So then the government sent us to catch the terrorist leaders. Well, that's a mission that army loves to do. Because if you get the precise information, the precise indication about some terrorist, and you're getting very quietly to his house or to his headquarters or to his shelter, and you get the right man in the right time, and you bring him to court in Israel. So in less than 2 weeks, we brought 100 leaders of the Palestinian terror organizations to Israel. But it didn't help, because you know terror organization, you take the head of it, the next morning they are too new. So then the government sent us to find out where the laboratories, where they make those explosives. So we went inside the Palestinian areas. We blew up more than 300 laboratories. But it didn't help, because you can make explosives even in your own kitchen. It's very dangerous to do it, don't try. But you can. So then the government sent a lot of soldiers and a lot of policemen to the streets to protect the public from the Palestinian terror. But that made the opposite. Because if you're sitting inside your house, you're watching out your window, and you see soldiers patrolling near your house, you're going out to the street, there are soldiers there. You're going to the bus station, there are soldiers there. You're going on the bus, there are soldiers there. You're going to the mall, there are soldiers there. Wherever you go, soldiers, policemen, soldiers. So people became very, very nervous. That was till March 2002. In March 2002, in 1 month, we lost 128 people that were murdered from terror attacks inside Israel. And people said to the government, enough is enough. We cannot live with such level of terror. Do something, build something. People were demonstrating all over the country, and the government understood that they have to take the first decision to let the army design and build the security fence. And that was the moment when I got the mission to be the head of this project. Well, as the government didn't want to build it, the government didn't want to get inside the details of the route of the fence. So I was the bad guy that had to walk on the ground with my staff, define the right line of the fence, and build it as fast as I can. At the time that I was still official, still in uniform, a lot of VIPs were coming with me to see the fence. Even Senator Hillary Clinton was with me in Gilo neighborhood in Jerusalem. When she came there, a lot of people from her staff were coming with her. Of course, a lot of journalists were coming with her. A lot of guards were coming with her. And she said very warm words about the right of Israel to defend herself by building the security fence. Later, when she became the Secretary of State, they took out from a website what she said there. But it's on the papers you cannot take back. But just 8 weeks before that, I had there another senator, Senator Barack Obama. When he came there, nobody thought that he will run for the president, so only 6 people came with him. Not even one journalist. And when I told him the story, why we built the security fence, he asked me a question. He said to me, well, you are talking about security, but really, if you want to defend these Israelis, build a fence near the Israeli houses, not near the Palestinian houses. In some places, it's only 200 meters. In other places, it's more than 2 miles. So you are using the security story to take Palestinian lands. Well, a very good question. And I answered him that the reason that the fence is there and not near the Israeli houses, it's because of security reason. Well, how come? There is no fence in the world that you cannot cross. Even in Berlin, when they had those concrete walls with mines on the ground, electric wires, automatic shooting machines, guards, dogs all over the area, people cross the walls. Here we build a system. There are no mines in the ground, not electric wires, not automatic shooting machines, but we believe that you cannot cross it without leaving an indication. And from the moment that we get this indication, we need some space to run after the people, those terrorists, and catch them before they get to their target. If the fence will be near the Israeli houses, we'll just know that someone is in, but we cannot help it. So how it works? Well, this is the security fence. Wherever you've seen the security fence in the media, they always show you the concrete walls. Well, there are concrete walls. In a minute, I'll talk about them. But please remember, only 5% of this big project of 451 miles long, only 5% are concrete walls. All the other are wire fences, as you can see here. You'll never see them in the media. So, how it works? We are starting from the Palestinian side. This is the West Bank. You can see that there is a simple fence here with barbed wires on it and red signs. It's written there in Arabic, in English, and in Hebrew. Don't come in, it's a closed army area. So innocent people are not supposed to be in the other side of this fence, but it takes just 2 or 3 minutes to cross it. Then there is a small ditch or cliff that no car can cross it, and then there is the fence itself. The fence is not electrified, but it's a very, very sophisticated fence because there are a lot of sensors on this fence that if you touch it, if you cut it, if you climb on it, and even if you come with some metal near it, it gives a precise indication where and what's going on there. At the moment that we get this indication, the cameras that we have all over the area are moving. You can see the cameras here. We have day cameras and night cameras. The day camera can see for 5 kilometers, the night camera can see for 1.5 kilometers. So we can see, is it a child that runs after his ball, or it's a terrorist that wants to cross the fence? At the moment that we get this indication, 3 patrols are running. 1 patrol is running down there, but the other 2 patrols are running up here on the mountains, so we can close the area and catch the man in his way. Then there is 5 meters wide of a dirt path between the fence and the patrol road. We are using this dirt path, we're cleaning this dirt path twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. So if someone steps on it, he leaves a footprint on the ground. And that's another sign for us. Then there is the asphalt patrolway. The order to the army and the border police is to be in 5 minutes to any call. I'm talking about 451 miles long. And they have to be in 5 minutes to any call. So we need a lot of forces, but we need a very good patrolway that they can run very quickly. And then there is another fence in the Israeli side, again with a lot of barbed wires that it will take some minutes more to cross it, and there will not come some innocent men from the Israeli side to that area. Between the barbed wires in the Israeli side and the barbed wires in the Palestinian side, we use another kind of rules of engagement. We are not shooting a manifest inside. But everyone that is inside is suspicious, of course. Well, at the first months, the Palestinians test us. They test us in daytime, in nighttime, in wind time, in fog time, in rain time, and the fence is very effective. So today they are not trying to cross it anymore. Maybe 20 to 30 times a week, all over the fence, someone tried to cross it. And most of these people that are trying to cross the fence today, they are criminals or illegal workers or even Palestinian women that are running away from the families. You know what happened to a Palestinian wife if her husband suspects her. She better run away. But every night, we catch between 5 to 20 suspicious or wanted people inside the West Bank in the way to the fence. As you know, Israel have a very good intelligence. So if we get a piece of information about some Palestinian that intend to do something, if it comes from a Palestinian urban area, what is called Zone A, area under the full responsibility of the Palestinian Authority, usually we are not entering this area. We let this information to the Palestinian police or to the Palestinian Secret Service, but we are watching that they are doing their job. If it comes from area B or C, where Israel have the security responsibility, we're working there. We catch these people and we bring them to court in Israel. If they found guilty, they are going to jail. If not, we are sending them back to the West Bank. Just imagine, every night between 5 to 20 wanted people are caught. Just in the last year, in 2015, in 1 year, we caught 65 terrorists with explosive belts on themselves in the way to Israel. Just 4 months ago, the Israeli Special Forces with the Israeli Secret Service, we caught a network of 150 Hamas terrorists inside the West Bank that, of course, they wanted to kill Israelis, but as well, they want to kill the Palestinian leaders and take the power in the West Bank as they did in Gaza Strip. So as this fence is so effective, today we sell it all over the world. Even when I was in London, I want to see how they protect the Buckingham Palace. So I went there and I saw on the fence the Israeli film sign. I don't know why they are not using it in the White House. They probably should use it. As you know, 2 months ago, someone succeeded to jump over the fence there. Maybe they are too proud to use the Israeli system, I don't know. But just 4 years ago, the Department of Homeland Security in the United States made a very big contract with an Israeli company to buy all the system, not only the fence, but all the system around for part of the border between Arizona and Mexico. And it works very good. Even in Abu Dhabi, in the Gulf, they just completed to build a new Air Force base, and they are using the Israeli system to protect it. As we tried to, the walls. There are walls. You can see these concrete walls that you see a lot of times in the television, and they say, this is the separation wall or the apartheid wall, or how they call it. So people says to me, we don't like your fence, but we can understand why you build it. But why building such walls? Well, really, I tried to construct all over the area only wire fences. But when we came to urban areas, and there is no space to build such system as you saw there, and we took a measured decision not to destroy or evacuate even one Palestinian house by building the fence. I'm talking about 451 miles long, and not even one Palestinian house was destroyed or evacuated by building the fence. So people says to me, so therefore we need these concrete walls. So people says to me, and there is another reason. In some places, like along road number 6, cross Israel highway, there are 2 Palestinian towns, Tul Karem and Kalkilia, and they were shooting from their towns toward the main road of Israel. So I had to construct the walls to protect the traffic. And there is another reason. In urban areas, I wanted to reduce the friction between the soldiers and the people that lives on the ground. I didn't want that some Palestinian children will throw stones on the fence. The fence is very sensitive. So the fence will react, the soldiers will run, and it will start something between the soldiers and the people that lives on the ground. So I prefer building concrete walls. And there is another reason. The fence cost a lot of money, and I didn't want the Palestinian to harm the fence. And therefore, in urban areas, concrete walls. So people says to me, okay, we can understand that. But why so high? Here it's 9 meters high, 27 feet high. Why so high? Can you make it some shorter? Well, really, at first I tried to construct only 6 meters high. But 6 meters, if you climb it, some people can jump. Not everyone, but some people can jump. 9 meters, nobody jumps. So it takes you a time to climb it. It takes you a time to get down. We have a lot of cameras and sensors to the other side, so we can see if someone starts climbing the wall, just wait for him in the Israeli side. So it's very effective. So people says to me, okay, we can even understand that. But why so ugly? Well, really, if you'll go to the Palestinian side, you can see on the walls there is very, very bad graffiti against Israel. That's obvious, that's in their side. But even in the Israeli side, if you'll go to East Jerusalem, to Abu Dis neighborhood, you'll see on the walls it's written, from Warsaw ghetto to Abu Dis ghetto, or all the Israeli soldiers are Nazis, or freedom to Palestine, or look where the American taxes are going to. A lot of very bad graffiti on the Israeli side of the wall. So at first I sent my soldiers to erase the graffiti. But you know, graffiti, you erase it, the next morning there is worse one. But then I had a tour of the members of the City Council of New York City. And they said to me, no problem. We have a special stuff that we are putting in the subway that you cannot make graffiti on it. Well, I sent my men to New York. They brought the stuff. I put it on the walls and I brought Israeli spray. And the spray works. But then I realized that we are living in a democrat country. In a democrat country, people have the right to demonstrate. And they even have the right to put graffiti on the walls. I know that in a lot of countries around the world, it's illegal to put graffiti on the walls. In Israel, there is no law against it. And I think that it's better that people will take out their anger by graffiti and not by violence. So we let the graffiti on the walls, and when I'm driving along the walls and I see this very bad graffiti, I'm proud. I'm proud to live in such state that can let such graffiti on the walls and know that it's part of the democratic system inside Israel. Well, this is the map of Israel, or most of Israel. You can see this is the Mediterranean, this is the Sea of Galilee, and this is the Dead Sea. The Jordan River runs from the Sea of Galilee to the Dead Sea. So this is the East Bank, this is Jordan Kingdom, and this is the West Bank. You can see here it's Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Haifa is up here, Beersheba is down here, and this is Gaza Strip. Everything here is very, very close. The distance between the Jordan River and the seashore in Tel Aviv is only 48 miles. That's all. The pink line on my map is the green line, because it's official map, so I couldn't draw it in green, I drew it in pink. So this is the West Bank, and this is Israel. See how close everything is. Here it's Tulkarem, a Palestinian town, and here it's Netanya, an Israeli town. The distance between Tulkarem and the seashore in Netanya is only 8 miles. So we have a joke in Israel. How much time it takes you to drive 8 miles? Probably 8 minutes. So the government is constructing roads that it will take you 30 minutes, that you will think that you are living in a big country, but really... Here it's Kalkilia, Palestinian town, and Kfar Saba, Israeli town, less than 1 kilometer from it. From Kalkilia to Herzliya, 7.5 miles. From Kalkilia to Tel Aviv, 10 miles. Here it's Ben Gurion Airport, the only international airport that we have in Israel. And we had a great problem because it's less than 9 kilometers to the West Bank. So therefore, it was the only international airport in the world that all the planes were landing from the west and taking off to the west. But 85 days a year, you cannot do it because of the winds. So when planes were coming to Israel, they have to turn over above the West Bank to land here. And we have to be sure that no one will launch a missile to where the plane that comes to Israel. So just 4 years ago, the government constructed new runway in the airport, so today we can land from the south or from the north, and we don't have to be above the West Bank anymore. But this is not the reason why we built here the security fence. it's not easy to see, but the purple line along the west, the pink line here is the route of the fence. It follows the green line, but it's not exactly on the green line, because the green line was drawn on maps, and the route of the fence was drawn on the ground. I walked with my staff all these 451 miles long, trying all the time to balance between the security needs and the rights of the people that lives on the ground. So sometimes we had to climb a mountain, and sometimes we have to get down to the other valley. So therefore, it snacks on the mountains. But in 3 areas, the lines get inside the West Bank, here, here, and here. This is what is called the settlements blocks. What is a settlement block? An area where there are only Israeli villages and towns, not even one Palestinian village. And the government wanted to protect these Israelis that live in these blocks. So they want to include them inside the fence. But when I came to this area, and I knew that I'll have here a lot of problems, and my first mission was to block the terror from the West Bank to Israel, I just constructed here temporary fences and let the fingers to the end. So although today these 3 areas are not completed yet, you cannot cross from the West Bank to Israel unless you cross a checkpoint in your way. As these things look like very complicated, imagine what happened in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is an urban area, all around the area, and there are villages and towns around it. And when I came to Jerusalem, the government said to me, Jerusalem is too sensitive. Leave it. Build a fence in the south between Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Build a fence in the north between Ramallah and Jerusalem. Leave Jerusalem to the end, and we will put a lot of soldiers in the east side of Jerusalem, and they will stop the terror. So we trained a special anti-terror unit. We call them Jerusalem Envelope. 1,500 very good soldiers were trained in the army, and we moved them to the border police, and the mission was to close East Jerusalem. But when the Palestinian terrorists saw that we are closing Jerusalem from the south and the north, and East Jerusalem is open, all the terrorists crossed through this area. So after a big terror attack in West Jerusalem, the government sent me to find a line in East Jerusalem too. At first I thought that the best line will be between the Jewish neighborhoods and the Arab neighborhoods. We want to protect the Jews from the Arabs. So I start designing a line between the neighborhoods inside Jerusalem. But when I start designing this line, the leaders of these Arab communities in East Jerusalem, they came to me and they said to me, you cannot build it. I said, why? They said to me, we are living in a democrat country. In a democrat country, you cannot differ between a Jew and an Arab. We want to stay in the Israeli side, not in the Palestinian side. So I said to them, well, you are right. And I moved to the second alternative. The second alternative was to build a fence exactly on the black line. But this line was drawn on maps, not on the ground. It cut houses, it cut neighborhoods, it cut the roots of lives of thousands of people. So I couldn't build it, not from the humanitarian perspective and not from the security perspective. So I had to move to the third alternative. The third alternative was to walk with my men on the ground, trying to find the best line that will let people live with the fence. In the end, we didn't come with the best line. We came with the less worst line that we can find. So sometimes the line is getting inside the West Bank, sometimes it's inside the municipal area of Jerusalem, in, out, all over the area. Because it's not a political line, it's just a security line, I could do it. When we start constructing the fence, the Palestinians tried to stop us in any way. First, they were demonstrating, but you know, the Israeli police is stronger, we moved them away, and we were working. So then they tried to hit the workers. They put mines in the ground. They were shooting toward the workers. We lost in this time 11 constructors and 7 guards. But the Israeli army is stronger. We moved them away, and we were working on the ground. So then the Palestinians apply to the UN. And the UN sent this problem to the International Court in Hague. Israel appreciates that court very much. But we were afraid that because the judges in this court are coming from different countries, they will represent their countries there, and the decision will be a political decision and not a justice one. And therefore, the government of Israel decided not to enter this court, and really the advice, it's not decision, it's the advice of this court was very bad against Israel. They didn't say even one word about the right of Israel to defend their people. They talked only about the problems the defense caused to the Palestinian people. But we, the Israeli army, were working according to the Israeli Supreme Court. At that time, the president of the Supreme Court of Israel was a very famous judge. His name was Professor Aharon Barak. And he says that he's going to open the doors of the Supreme Court of Israel, not only for every Israeli that want to apply, then to any Palestinian that want to apply. You know, all over the world, you cannot apply to the Supreme Court unless you are a citizen of that country. But he did so. He didn't realize that in a very short time, we'll have 124 petitions. And he sat on the bench in every case. And I had to be there to defend the decisions that I took. Well, I'm not a lawyer, but from 124 petitions, I lost only 5. But I learned from these 5 cases more than all the other. Because if you win a case, you don't learn from it anything. If you lose a case, and especially if after I lost the first case, that the Supreme Court said to me that I have to change the route of defense on 7.5 kilometers that were under construction that time, I understood what the Supreme Court want me to do. They want me to change the balance between the security needs and the rights of the people. So I stopped the work, I looked all over the line again, I changed it in a lot of places, and I came back to the government, and just after the government improved my new map, I came back to the ground, and I built it as fast as I can. Well, as the fence is so effective for Israel, it made a lot of troubles to the Palestinians. Because before the fence was built, it was so easy for every Palestinian to cross wherever he wants, whenever he wants. From 2000 till the end of 2006, we had in Israel 4,000 terror attacks. We lost in this period 1,562 people that were murdered from terror attacks. From January 2007 till last week, we had in Israel only 25 terror attacks, and we lost 18 people. As you know, last week we had a terror attack from the West Bank. We don't know yet how these people came to Tel Aviv through the fence, or if they have license to do it. We are still searching that, but investigating that. But you see the big difference. It's not only the fence. The fence is only the infrastructure on the ground. It's the soldiers that work 24 hours a day. It's the border police. It's the relations with the Palestinian Authority. It's the coordination with the Palestinian police, and even the psychological effect that people know that this area is closed, so they are not trying to cross it anymore. But as this fence is so effective for Israel, it made a lot of troubles to the Palestinians, and I try to minimize that damage as I can. Like building as many checkpoints as I can, bringing the best equipment to these checkpoints, training the soldiers in these checkpoints to be polite to the Palestinians. You know, it's not easy to train 18 years old soldier to be polite to Palestinians that want to kill him. But we did so. I took money from the budget of defense and let it to private Palestinian clinics that they can give the day-to-day medical service in their side, and only if it's emergency they will come to Israel. I took money from the budget of defense and let it to 300 school buses that take children from one side to the other side. I tried as I can to work only on public lands. But if we had to enter private property, we offer the people compensation. Once for the damage that we are doing to the land and annual payment for the use of this land. We are not taking the ownership of the land, we are just using the lands. I have to be honest with you, most of these farmers didn't come to take the compensation because they were afraid from the Palestinian Authority that they will say that they are cooperating with the occupation. And therefore we save this money in a special account in the bank, that if someone will come someday and ask, where's my money, we cannot say, oh, today there is no budget for it. It's there and it's kept for him. Well, as you know, we are calling the fence the security fence because it's built for security. But the Palestinians, and even when President Carter was there, he called it the apartheid wall. Well, it's not apartheid because there are Jews and Arabs in both sides of the fence. And it's not a wall because only 5% of it is a concrete wall. But when they are calling it the wall, they are pointing to the wall in Berlin. Well, I was in Berlin. I spent half a day in the Museum of the Wall in Checkpoint Charlie, and I came out with a lot of conclusions about the difference between the walls in Berlin and the fence in Jerusalem. But there is one common thing between them, that one day will come, and I hope that this day will be as soon as possible. I pray for it 3 times a day, but I'm not only praying, I'm doing my best that this day will be as soon as possible. At that day, that we'll have peace agreement with our neighbors, and there will be no frighten of terror anymore. I want to be the one that will take off the first stone of the wall in Jerusalem. I love this city so much. I have so many friends in the other side, so really I hope the day will come and we can remove the fence and live normally and quietly with our neighbors, the Palestinians. Well, if you have questions, we have time. Okay. Well, I had in my PowerPoint, if you come to Israel, you'll see in Israel people are living not in an area in battlefield. People having the good life in Israel. People believe in the future. People believe that it can be in another way. And really we hope that this day will come. But look what happens in the other side. This is one typical caricature from the Palestinian paper. The mother encouraged her daughter to kill people. I cannot understand it. This is the old map of the Middle East that was in the 20th century. You know what happened today? Most of these countries that you knew from the old map doesn't exist anymore. You know, Syria, of course, is not one country. It's more than 4 or 5 countries. We don't know how to count. Lebanon is not one country anymore. Iraq, of course, is not one country anymore. Somalia, Libya, Yemen, all these countries that were made by the West in the end of the First World War doesn't exist anymore. And today, what happens in the Middle East is that ISIS, this crazy organization that says that he's acting according to the Islam, this is their map. Look on this map. All this black area is the area that they believe that is part of their state, the Islamic State. I think that you don't know to read Arabic, so I'll translate something for you. You can see this area, what you used to call Spain, it's written here Andalus. It's the Arab name that was there in the Middle Age times. You cannot find any of the Western countries in this map. This is Greek. You can see it's part of this area. And this is their dream. And if we, the Western world, will not stop them, this will not be the end. You know, today in Europe, there are more than 1 million new immigrants. They are not typical immigrants. Typical immigrant that is coming to his new country is trying to be part of this country. These people are occupying Europe because they want to change Europe to be an Islamic way. So what they don't succeed in the battlefield, they succeed by using or abusing the liberal, naive Europe and the values of the Christian society inside Europe. So if we want to be awake and we won't see what's going on there, probably this will be the map. But I cannot end with bad words. So really, this is what we hope for, that Israel will be back, the Holy Land, that everyone from all over the world can come there, pray there, be part of the Holy Land of Israel. You know, the Palestinians doesn't respect holy places of other religions. We do so. We let everyone come, everyone pray, everyone have his tradition inside Jerusalem. There are so many kinds of Jews, Christians, and Muslims that comes every day to Jerusalem from all over the world, and we just hope that it will be, as the prophets view, the place of peace for all nations. So we are here in the Church of All Nations, so this is the right place to talk about Jerusalem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take a few questions.
Thank you.
And they're standing at the end.
All right. Anyone have one question, maybe two at the most? We got time for just one or two questions. Does anyone have one? Yes? Okay.
If our Republican nominee, Donald Trump, gets to be president, what kind of a wall should we put up between Mexico and the U.S.?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't want to get inside the political situation inside the United States, and it affects Israel very much. But I myself, I have very good relations with the Union of the Sheriffs in the United States. We try to share with them our experience and our technology. We know that they have a lot of different tasks and different problems, but we know that in this time you have to keep your borders, because if you don't keep them, there are people that use them for other purposes.
Well, I still think that an Israeli-built wall would be a good one.
What kind of a fence do you have in Gaza? You didn't mention that.
That's right. Gaza Strip is a closed area. Israel is not there anymore. Israel left Gaza, as you know, in 2005. We left the area. We let it to the Palestinian Authority, and a very short time later, in the very, very bad advice of Condoleezza Rice, they made their elections and they let the Hamas to be part of these elections. You know, the Hamas is a terror organization, so they took the power in Gaza Strip from a lot of reasons. And they threw away the Palestinian Authority from Gaza Strip, and as Gaza Strip hit Israel all the time with missiles, so we don't let Gaza Strip get out, people from Gaza Strip to get out from there, or to we let them any missiles or any guns or things like this come there. I don't know if you know it, but every day about 400 trucks are coming to Gaza Strip from Israel with supply for the day-to-day life there. But Gaza Strip is isolated from Israel, and it's another story. From Gaza Strip to Israel, only 3 terrorists succeeded to cross in this period because there is a fence all over it, and there is a strip around Gaza Strip that if someone is coming to these 300 meters near the fence, is going to be shot. And they know it, and they don't get to the fence. So Gaza Strip is a closed area, and it's another story at all.
One thing I'd like to share with you, some of you may have heard this story before, but several years ago I was in Israel, and we like to go to Sderot, which is on the Gaza Strip and around that area. And Hamas was shooting rockets into Israel. Now, one thing that's amazing you may not know, the Israeli Electric Company supplies power to the Gaza Strip. Okay? And guess what? They probably owe them hundreds of millions of dollars. Gaza never pays their bills, but Israeli Electric Company still supplies them power. So here Hamas is shooting rockets into Gaza, and it so happens the power goes out in an area of the Gaza Strip. So what does Israel do while they're being shot at? They go to try to restore power for the Gaza citizens. And while they're doing that, there's this picture in the newspaper. They have these huge concrete blocks that cranes are holding up because Hamas is shooting at the Israeli contractors who are trying to give them power. And they owe them money. I mean, but you don't hear about this in the media. These are the things you don't hear about, which is why I always encourage everyone to go to Israel with me. I go pretty much every year. I encourage people to go so you can really see what's happening on the ground and how Israel bends over backwards to help a lot of the Palestinians. It's the leadership that are causing most of the problems in the Hamas area. But the other thing I do want to mention, next month in July, I'm going to Washington, D.C. People from all over the United States converge on Washington, D.C. to talk to our senators, congressmen, and I'll be leading a delegation from Washington. We have people from every state going. And if anyone wants to know more information, I believe on the table back there is more information how you can join us going to Washington, D.C., and hear fantastic speakers talk about the situation, just like you heard from Dr. Danny Tirza. Let's give him a big hand one more time. And we thank Randy Neal and everything that Christians United for Israel does. So I encourage you, if you want to have the time of your life, join me in Washington, D.C. next month. Thank you very much. Let's close in prayer. Let's stand. And again, if you're here for the first time, Saturday, not Sunday mornings. We rent from a church that meets on Sunday. We meet on Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock. We're very pro-Israel. We relate the Tanakh or the scriptures, the Old Testament, with the Brit Hadashah or the New Testament, connecting those dots, and we make the Bible come alive. So feel free to join us. Father, we just thank you so much again for this time that we can hear your heartbeat. You love the land of Israel. And we know that you're going to rule and reign there. Your throne will be there. So, Father, right now we just thank you. We pray for everyone. They have a safe trip home. And may your people be blessed. In your name, amen. Thank you. Check out the table, the information.